So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, everybody, welcome a little bit early to Powell Movement. Matt with Maddie 15.
Excellent.
Yes, in case you guys are curious, yes, I did spend a bit over an hour yesterday trying really, really hard to make the letters in Powell Movement look like they were pooped out by something. I think I did a reasonably good job. And to be fair, a lot of that time was just me forgetting that the node in Blender called Realize Instances both existed and actually does do something, despite the fact that usually when you add it to your node tree, it doesn't look like it did anything at all. So, and actually explaining what it does is actually surprisingly complicated, which is another reason that perhaps I forget it. But that's okay. If, though, you're a $10 or up patron, you can download my procedural poop shader and my procedural poop node tree, so you can make anything in Blender look like poop.
Amazing.
Yes. Only the top highest quality Blender content for my $10 and up patrons.
Exactly. Listen, none of that low quality shit here, only high quality shit.
Very, very high. It does not come with a smell-o-vision or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. But, Maddie, how are you?
Oh, well, I'm fine.
Okay, there you go.
The baby feel very good today, so there's been a lot of crying, and I've been trapped. Well, I've been needing to hold her most of the day, which is a just perfectly fine thing to do, but I'm a little dazed and confused.
Well, I have bad news for you, because we're going to be watching Matt Powell.
And that's not going to help in any way, shape, or form. So that's fun. That's fun for me.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
The good news
this has been
is,
something that's been bothering me about this video, and I just placed. It's the color of his shirt. It's that like early 2000s where like all guys started wearing these like bright jewel tone shirts under like black suits, and I don't like that fashion choice.
I see.
I know that's a really silly thing to be bothered by, but like, my guy, just wear like a white or a blue or a pale yellow shirt, right? Like,
now we're going crimson.
And they're the classics for a reason. I guess this looks like it was filmed close to Christmas, so maybe it was supposed to be like a festive thing that I have no patience for, because we've been listening to him talk for 6 weeks.
Speaking of Christmas, Merry Christmas, everyone who's celebrating Old Calendar Christmas. It's currently, at least here, the 11th day of Old Calendar Christmas.
Ah, yes, Merry Christmas.
So,
that would be what, Orthodox?
It would be parts of both Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox Christianity.
Okay.
Not all of, but parts of. But also some of the larger parts, at least for Eastern Orthodox. Because basically pretty much all the Slavic-speaking countries use the Old Calendar. And that's like a significant majority of Eastern Orthodox Christians are people in Slavic language-speaking countries.
Gotcha. I went to officer camp because I got to go to ODS instead of OCS with one of the like 6 Eastern Orthodox priests in the Navy.
Oh, I wasn't even sure that there were any in the Navy.
Yeah, a lot of them get like deployed to like Turkey.
That makes sense.
Provide services for like our allies.
Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. Well, guys, we're not primarily here to talk about Christmas or who celebrates it when. We are mostly here for booze and Matt Powell. But first, we have a super chat. So I'm going to read the super chat. Goop23 for $5 says, the irony of that love your neighbor as yourself shirt, considering how quickly Matt goes from 0 to transphobe. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we have the specific rules that we do for Matt. So let's get into those. First, we'll take a drink. Whenever Matt says something that's so stupid, need to like cool our brains down. And by the way, what are you drinking there, Maddie? What you got?
I have some gin in the seasonal limited edition Sprite with cranberry and winter spices.
What is a winter spice, out of curiosity? Is it like nutmeg and cinnamon?
No, because it doesn't taste like nutmeg and cinnamon, and the Sprite can does not provide more details, but it tastes very good in gin.
Okay, well, I mean, cranberry gin is a really good combination. Last time I did gin, I did cranberry pomegranate juice in my gin and tonic.
Ooh,
it was very festive,
yummy.
Yeah, and very delicious. Let's see. I am drinking a pre-mixed margarita, primarily to get rid of it, so it's no longer taking up space in the refrigerator because no one else is drinking.
Okay, yeah, like we appreciate the sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't want to throw it out, but I also don't want it to just stay there. You don't
really want it, though.
Yeah, it's not awful. It's just not ever anything I would probably buy for myself.
Hey,
and to be fair, it wasn't bought for me, but even the person who did buy it was like, nah, I'm out. Like, yeah, okay, figures. So, anyway, we will also take a drink whenever Matt Powell says something that's actually factually accurate, that he's not just quoting someone else with. It actually has to come out of his mind and through his mouth and into our ears, and then we hear it, and then it's true, and then we take a drink. Anyway, we will also take a drink whenever Matt Powell tells a story that just didn't happen, tells a joke that doesn't land, mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party or various prominent members and activities, especially in the early 20th century. We will also take a drink anytime he mentions Columbine, or anytime he just switches topic without any warning or segue, especially if he switches topic to how uncomfortable he is about trans people. I was going to say about transphobes, but no, he's the transphobe. He's not uncomfortable with them. He's far too comfortable with them. Because, he'll be talking about, like, abiogenesis or something, and then he'll just say, like, so all this trans nonsense. I'm like, dude, seriously? Why?
Yeah, listening to him it gives you whiplash.
So I did mention Columbine, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, if he mentions Columbine, if he if one of us makes an accurate prediction about what he's going to say next, where it's not just very obvious, we'll take a drink. Also, sometimes, somewhat at random, you might hear Godzilla. Sorry, I've got a little cough. You might hear Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly. Take a drink for that. Similarly, anyone who's a member can super chat or milestone chat something which contains one of the kaiju emojis. So that includes Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Take a drink for that. Also, anyone at all, can super chat anything which contains the semantic information that AIG are a bag of dicks. But you got to be a little careful because YouTube will censor a lot of versions of that. So you got to be a little clever with it. Take a drink for that. Also, for every gifted membership, that's what it is, we'll take a drink. So, for instance, Trail Mix, who's been a member for 1 month at the amniote level, just said AIG is a valise of phalluses. So we will take our first drink for that. Thank you very much for being a member.
Cheers.
Yep, that sure is a pre-mixed margarita. Woo! Royland Hutchins, who's been a member for 9 months, is at the tetrapod level, sends Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah with a drink emoji.
Amazing. Cheers.
By the way, guys, we are somewhere around 10 or so members from getting the next emoji. And the next emoji, it's been requested that it be a pelagic tunicate just to irk me, and I'm okay with that.
I also want to make it a point to say, even though you're probably about to say this, hey team, feel free to play along with the drinking game, but be safe, know your limits, and you don't have to play with alcohol, right? I was pregnant on this show. I've played with water more than I've played with alcohol doing these.
Playing along with water, tea, coffee.
Yeah. Soda without alcohol in it.
There
Whatever
you go.
You want to do.
I know some people who vaped along with it. which as long as you're safe with it, you know. Also,
Yeah.
a couple things. Goopdo3, who's been a member for 6 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, wasting away again in Megaritaville. Yeah, no, this is... that is accurate. So let's see. We also had 5 gift subscriptions from memberships. I always call them gift subscriptions because that's what they're called on Twitch, and that's where I first became aware of the phenomenon. They're memberships. Oh, I should stop trying to scroll up in that window and get myself my own chat window that you guys aren't supposed to be seeing. So who has been gifted this? Give me a second while I find out. So we've got Nim, BioAllie, Supercritical Snake, Alia Jane, and Michael Murphy, who were all gifted memberships. And so if you guys are already members, send some tetrapods. But we also, so first 5 drinks for that.
Okay.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know what?
I kind of feel bad that I'm not on camera tonight because I can't I can't prove that I'm actually playing.
I have faith in your integrity.
Yeah.
Also, I think I realized that this margarita needs salt. So that's part of what's happening. Is it like I haven't put any salt anywhere in this?
If you want to go get some salt, I can chat and entertain people.
Maybe if I have another glass. Also, My Unfinished Journey for $2 says AIG are a funnel full of phalli. We will take a drink for that too.
I like that one. Funnel full. That's just try saying that 5 times fast. Funnel full of phalli. Funnel full of phalli.
So we are ready to get into this.
Are we though?
No, but we're gonna do it anyway because we're not gonna get more ready anytime soon.
I guess that's true. And I guess like this will never be over if we don't press play at some point.
Right. Eventually I would like to get away from Matt Powell, but we can't do it until we finish this video.
Correct. Okay.
And here we go.
The Origin of Species, their Bible.
By the way, he's talking about anyone who accepts evolution at all. The Origin of Species is your Bible, apparently, despite the fact that I don't know of anyone who just accepts everything in the Origin of Species because we know a bunch of it's wrong. So.
Right. But what's been very illuminating to me in doing these streams is realizing that like, because from like his perspective, like in the way his society, like subculture works is like anything that is true comes from an authority. Right. So he had to find, what is the like one person or book, right? Like that this is what they accept as true because this person, this authority figure said so.
Yeah. He's got to think of Darwin as like the prophet or the pope of evolution. He's not just a scientist who was right about some stuff. Some significant stuff, but...
Yeah. Like, he's not just a scientist who made significant breakthroughs, right? Like, that's all Darwin is. He did really cool stuff, but like he's not a prophet or a pope or a holy man.
Exactly. All right, let's see. We hear what he has to say about... By the way, this is in a section called The Damaging Effects of Evolution. So... Celestial Anomaly for $5 says, I want to try something. AIGR... Well, actually, you just put... a bag of ding-dongs. Nice. I would say that spelling R with a schwa and the upright R is a little off. The normal English R is actually the upside-down, rotated R. But also in something like R, you're probably going to want to use the ah rather than And also, usually English words like that actually end up rhoticizing the vowel rather than actually having a separate R phoneme. There's a little rhoticization mark. It sort of looks like a little stick that comes from the right of the vowel and gives you a little down tick. That's the better way to do R in IPA. But I did get it, so we're going to drink for AIG or a bag of dicks. Okay. Well, bag of ding-dongs, spelled out mostly correctly in the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Also, I have a very sweet doggo who's come to say hello.
Oh, hello, doggo. Which one is it?
Shep.
Hi, Shep. All right, here we go.
They don't even know the other name of their own Bible. I have to point it out to them. It's the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. That means...
I actually do know that. In fact, At one point in college, when someone asked what the name of Darwin's most famous book was, I responded with The Origin of Species, or The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Survival. And someone's like, just call it The Origin. Like, yeah, I know, but that's not the full title. So yeah, people do know this, right? It's not like it's a secret.
People do know it.
But also, when you look up the uses of the words race in the actual book, he's talking about things like races of cabbage or of pigeon.
Yeah, he's using it to mean species.
Sometimes subspecies, man.
Sometimes subspecies, yeah. And like this idea of favored races, like, excuse me, yeah, he says favored races. In my brain, I always think of it as favored species, like, but anyway. But like what Darwin's doing there is he doesn't mean like favored by by some sort of consciousness, right? It's not the language we would use today, but Darwin is having to like develop the language to talk about the science he's coming up with, right? And so it's not perfect. It's the first draft of like, what's the vocabulary we're going to use to talk about this,
right?
But it's just the idea of survival of the fittest, of like, hey, turns out if you have a trait that helps you survive, that species tends to do better.
Right.
They tend to thrive. And to the point that like that trait becomes more prominent. Like that's all. It's not like Matt tries to put on, and this is like most creationists who do this, they have this talking point, because this is a very common talking point. Just like are not, hey, that they also do this with the Bible. They don't understand a historic text in the context of which it was written, because is it lexis something drift? What's that word?
Oh, semantic shift.
Semantic shift. There we go. I always want to say like some like lexicon, but that's not the right like tense.
Well, semantic shift affects the lexicon in that when it occurs, you need to update your definitions for words in a language. And the thing is, not only does it happen in ancient languages, like if you're using older translations of the Bible into English, the words being used in the English in your Bible do not mean the same thing that they mean now.
Right. Yeah, because languages are living things unless they're Latin and dead.
Hey, even Latin gets updates every once in
a while. Hey, that's cool.
The Vatican actually has an official list of like Latin neologisms for concepts that didn't exist when Latin was a living language.
Oh,
so,
that's
like,
cool.
There are official Latin words for like motorcycle and computer.
Huh.
Yeah. Because otherwise they would have a really hard time using it as their official language. It's like,
I see.
How do you write like laws or like instructions or whatever in Latin if you don't have words for things?
That's fair.
My Unfinished Journey for $5 says, proof that evolution is a religion. We know that Origin of Species has errors, but we believe evolution anyway. Yes. Yeah, apparently. All right. Well, let's go on a little bit with this now that we've done more than enough to establish that, what Darwin means isn't race. Although, sure, look, would Darwin be a racist by today's standards? Yes. However, by his day standards, he was almost absurdly progressive and was a abolitionist before it was cool.
Yeah.
That Darwin was favoring certain races.
Nope. Natural selection, not Darwin.
Darwin was favoring certain races?
I'm just going to take a drink for it. Yeah, I'm just going to take a drink.
Absolutely not, Matt.
It's almost like Matt's never read the book.
Right. Again, it's very specifically not favored by some consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. We're going to get a quote that's not from Origin of Species, as far as I know. Here you go.
Oh, yay!
They say, well, our founder wasn't a racist.
No one calls Darwin our founder. I'm taking another drink. Damn it.
Oh my gosh.
No one says that. I've never heard anyone call Darwin that. I think
there's a second drink here for conversations that didn't happen.
Yeah, you know what? Sure. That works for me. All right. Yeah. Okay, where's my play button? Here it is.
At some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the what? Savage races throughout the world. Darwin believed that there were savage races. This is all based in evolution.
Yeah, like I said, Darwin would be considered a racist by today's standards.
Yeah, and he's describing like globalization. And I'm not even sure actually, so like we can talk about like the use of that like civilized versus savage, right? Like it's not great vocabulary, but it was standard at the time, right? So I'm not gonna dwell on that. But he's not like, if you just read that statement, that's not
Take a drink from Mothra.
excellent. I had to let the dogs out, so I'm like behind on 2 drinks now. He's just saying that's a neutral statement. He's not endorsing the idea, right? It's just like an observation. It's like, I mean, I could say that at some time in the future, there will no longer be uncontacted humans on planet Earth. I'm not saying that that's like a good or a bad thing. It's just, it is true.
Right. Well, so that is one thing. Is this first is from Descent of Man, not Origin of Species. So there is that.
Okay.
He's getting the book wrong.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, it's not clear that Darwin is advocating for this outcome so much as predicting it. Because the thing is, like, you can make predictions that you're not in favor of, right? Like, I can say, I predict that in, I don't know, in the next 50 years, the Arctic will be free of sea ice. Now, I don't actually know if that's the case. I'm just making that up off the top of my head. But predicting it...
very likely true for if you mean summer. Summer.
Sure. And sure, so, like, do I want that to be the case? Well, no, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's likely to be the case.
Yeah, you can acknowledge that something is true, doesn't mean you're like for it or...
Maddie, you're starting to break up a little bit. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry, I'm having to move around because the dogs were about to break the back door down.
Well, also, Killer Atelian, who's been a member for 6 months and is at the amniote level, says, well, Matt Powell probably is an expert on racists, and says, get bent. Followed, of course, by a Godzilla emoji. Take a drink.
Amazing.
And then Dr. Tapioca Weasel has gifted a membership which went to Joel Duff, Dr. Joel Duff. So, take a drink for that. Okay. Here we go. We're going to get a little bit more in.
Evolution. They're like, well, we don't believe in racism, Matt. We believe that we evolved from Africans.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Okay.
So, I guess...
There's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack.
So I guess technically, given that non-Africans all descend from a subset of Africans, it's not technically wrong to say that you're descended from Africans, but saying evolved from is kind of weird. Like, I wouldn't normally put it that way.
Yeah, that's a weird sentence.
Like, it's not strictly wrong, it's just a really weird way to phrase it. But also, I mean... Yeah, here's the thing, right? Evolution doesn't actually tell you much about whether or not racism is a good idea, right? Because it is at least, like, just given evolution, right? It doesn't mean that there wouldn't possibly be grounds for, like, races of humans being significantly different in ways that matter in terms of things like cognitive ability or whatever. However...
Right.
When we checked on that, it turned out that by and large, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, and certainly there were historically many early people in like who were studying human evolution. They were bound and determined that Europeans evolved separately, you know.
Oh yeah,
because of the racism. But like again, so like if we're thinking of like racism as a moral or ethical stance, right? That has nothing to do with whether or not evolution is true.
Exactly.
Right? So he's like what is that argument from consequence, I guess? And so
yeah, basically.
But like, and I don't know the point he's trying to make here. I think the point he's trying to make is that like like people who accept the scientific truth that evolution is a thing.
I think it's that they're more likely to be
have
racist.
to be they're more likely to be racist or have to be racist because if Darwin was judged by modern standards, he would have been viewed as he'd be viewed as racist.
I think he's also
like,
trying to argue that evolution inevitably leads to racist conclusions because he thinks that evolution of necessity implies that some groups of humans are quote unquote less evolved, which doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Or is he trying to say that because Matt Powell's arguments are almost always like black and white, like you can only do one thing. So like is he trying to say that like if people who believe in evolution are racist, therefore he can't be? Is that what he's going for?
I don't know if he's going to say that he can't be. I think he is going to say that the story of Adam and Eve precludes racism on like the grounds of Christian theology, which, I mean, given the history of Christian racism, it certainly does not preclude that possibility at all.
Right.
Now, you can make the argument, and you can say that because of my interpretation of the Adam and Eve story, I choose to reject racism. That's fine. But you can't pretend that anyone who comes to that text will reject racism on its grounds.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's let Matt talk, because I would like to finish this video. Like, that's a stretch goal, but maybe we can do it.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
that is racism.
Is it racism to think that your ancestors are from Africa? I'm just going to take a drink, because I don't think that saying my ancestors lived in Africa is in any way racist. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't...
What about the Africans that are still alive today? Do you know how rude that is?
Well, they also descended
from people who live in Africa. Yeah, yep. I don't...
I mean, some of them didn't, I guess. Like, if you're like a Boer in South Africa or something, you didn't descend directly from Africans the whole way back. Your ancestors took a detour in there, but like...
Right, but I mean, like, if we're talking about Africans, what I mean when my, like, white ass says that I'm, like, descended from, you know, humans that lived in Africa, I mean, like, I don't mean... that, do you know what I mean? I mean, like, mitochondrial Eve is a person.
Mm-hmm. Like, and she was almost certainly living in Africa.
Yeah, like, humans, Homo sapiens, evolved in Africa. So all humans are descended from people who lived in Africa. Like,
yeah. Well, and the thing is, Matt would say the same thing, except he would just say, like, Middle East, right? Because he believes in the Tower of Babel as, like, the origin point for humanity after the flood. So, is Matt racist against, like, I don't know, Arabs?
I actually legitimately don't know.
By the way, Dr. Tapioca Weasel
where his incredulity is coming from.
And it went to My Unfinished Journey. Get those tetrapods in the chat and we'll take a drink.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where he goes with it.
Okay.
To say, we've become better than.
Nope, that's you projecting that into them. We're taking a drink for that.
Yeah.
The Africans.
Nope, not what that means.
What a joke.
No,
but the Bible says there's...
my guy.
Oh, okay, he's going for Galatians 3:28, which actually I do have to say, I find it harder to come up with justifications for racism out of Galatians than I do out of Genesis. So,
yeah,
he did make the better choice in the anti-racist passage, because, I mean, look, historically, Christian excuses for racism and slavery were based out of Genesis. Specifically, the curse of Ham. Whereas Galatians 3:28 was typically used by, like, abolitionists to say, nah, that's not cool.
That's not cool, dude. But also, like, but I mean, like, I'm just going to poke at Matt Powell's theology here for a minute, because I guess I've never specifically heard him speak about, like, women's roles, you know? But, like, how are you going to use this verse to say that, like, racism is bad, which, like, hey, I think racism is bad, right? But not then also say that sexism is bad, you know?
Yeah, it does have male or female in there too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we all know that Matt Powell is what you would consider to be extremely sexist.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
like he hasn't talked about it here, but like, yeah, homeboy is real sexist.
Yeah, it's an odd verse to cite against bigotry while maintaining a lot of the bigotries that this verse very well should be used to argue against if you're going to use it to argue against racism. Like, either this is against racism and sexism, or it's not against either. Like, you got to pick one of those sides.
Yeah, and actually, you could honestly make a stronger argument if I'm going to go like biblical literalist for a minute. You know, like, you can use this verse to make a stronger argument for sexism being bad than like racism being bad, right? Because it doesn't specifically mention. We specifically mention like, I guess like what we would view as like, I guess June or Greek. I guess that's speaking about like what would be viewed as races. Well,
the thing. So first, I want to read a super chat, and then I want to get into the idea of like race in like Antiquity, because it's
cool.
It's on its own. It's its own interesting question. So Jake Nelson for $10 says AIG con bolsa de salchichas con barbas. Wieners with beards. Awesome.
Ooh.
Take a drink. All right. So in Antiquity, they didn't have the same idea of like race that we do today, right? Like today, in various countries, people put other people into racial categories primarily based on like gross observable like morphological features like skin tone, eye shape, nose shape, lip shape, things like that, right? Hair texture, hair color in some cases, eye color, things like that. But in Antiquity, you'll notice that the difference is Jew nor Greek. But the thing is, there were a lot of people who had both ancestry, and also you'll notice it doesn't cover everyone. In Antiquity, the considering of people to be other groups was primarily based on a cultural thing. So, for instance, there were plenty of Roman emperors who were considered to be Roman, but whose ancestry was not Roman, whose ancestry was like like Iberian Celts or something. But because they spoke good Latin and they adopted Roman practices and they conducted themselves properly as a Roman emperor, no one really cared that much, because it wasn't so much about your breeding as it was about whether or not you could act as a proper member of this society. Similarly, like if you wanted to be a Jew in the Second Temple period, there were conversion processes you could go through. You could become adopted into Second Temple Judaism if you wanted to be. Now, a lot of people who were interested in Second Temple Judaism didn't go that far, and they were sort of like hanging out in the periphery of Second Temple Judaism. You'll see them sometimes called like seekers or something in like New Testament era writings. These were people who basically believed in the God of Second Temple Judaism, but didn't actually go through with a conversion process. But also, Hellenized Jews who were sufficiently Hellenized that they basically weren't conducting themselves according to the religious laws of Second Temple Judaism were often just lumped in with the Greeks anyway. Because again, it was less important about your ancestry or your physical characteristics and more about culture that you belonged to and how you conducted yourself and what languages you spoke.
Fun fact, that's actually also, I know specifically for Cherokee, and I think that's kind of general of tribes, like of similar regions. That was the concept of like somebody was Cherokee if they were participating in the tribe. And the idea of someone like half Cherokee, that was completely foreign, right? That was you either are or you are not.
Yeah, are you participating in the tribe or not? I don't care if your parents participated in the tribe or if one of them did. Are you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we have a $5 super chat from OK Boomer Lady. There we go. Who says, "I thought some popcorn would be good for Matt. Sorry, for a Matt Powell takedown. There we go. But the popcorn popper I got for Christmas set the smoke detector off. Damn. Oh, that sucks."
Oh no, but yeah, popcorn would be great as you watch me slowly, like,
lose your mind.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Also, Trudy Stubbs, who's been a member for 1 month at the annual level, says, "Finally catching a live stream. Thank you both for making my work days more entertaining and also keeping me hydrated." Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's great.
Also, hit like. I'm seeing almost 50 people who haven't done that.
I strongly encourage everyone, if you're watching this like during the daytime and not evening, which it is for me right now. Oh my gosh, use our drink triggers as for water, so you stay hydrated. I love that.
Let's hear what else Matt has to say about this passage in Galatians.
Okay.
Neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, male nor female, for you're all one in Christ.
Left off the Jesus word. That's okay, man.
That's what the Bible says. The Bible is superior, evolution, and atheism is inferior.
Okay, but the Bible also really doesn't like Ammonites, even though they're just little squiggly squid things. Because remember, the Bible says that no Ammonite shall enter the congregation of the Lord. That's a thing. Look it up, guys. It's in there.
Yeah. But also, the idea that you could place a religious text, right, and compare it, and want to say which is better, a religious text, or let's go with the culmination of modern evolutionary theory, right? Like, I don't know how you're supposed to compare those and say which is better. That's a nonsense question.
It's kind of like comparing like Super Mario Brothers to the novel, like the 3-novel series, The Lord of the Rings. Like, what does it mean to compare these things? They're fundamentally different.
Better, Dapper.
You can say which one I have more fun enjoying. That's fine.
Right.
But like, you can't say The Lord of the Rings is better than Super Mario Brothers. They're fundamentally different things that don't do the same thing at all.
Yeah, you can't compare them in a sense of like, I can rant, but like I oftentimes like that word, like which of these two things is better, is rarely a good. That's always an ill-defined question.
Yeah, you have to be comparing very similar things.
Right, because you need to qualify what trait it is you're comparing between the two things.
Right, and often things aren't easily comparable.
Right. Yeah. Welcome to my science brain, by the way, of like, that's an ill-formed question. You need to be better. You need to ask better questions, Matt.
Yeah, really. All right, here we go.
Hitler wrote in his book, Mein...
All right, here it is. Take a drink. Thanks, Matt.
Kampf, that his goal was to preserve the most valuable racial elements.
Okay, but he also thought that different groups of humans had been separately created by a creator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Hitler would not have been a young Earth creationist in the sense of like, wouldn't have gone to church with Matt Powell and believed the same things as Matt Powell. So there is that,
but
right?
He was all about taking that theology to justify genocide. Like,
oh yeah, he would use whatever excuses, and he did believe in a creator and in separate ancestry for humans. He did not believe in an evolutionary idea of the origin of humans. In fact, he wrote strongly against that. And yeah, also demonetized. So, I mean, I'm not actually sure that it would be demonetized because we're 40 minutes into the video. So, like, we might be okay. But we might not. So, I mean, hey, feel free to super chat to offset the possibility.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on hearing about why it is that the guy who didn't believe in evolution somehow an example of the consequences of evolution, which even if he were, would still be an argument from consequences, and therefore an illogical argument.
Yeah.
And raise them to a dominant position. All who are not of good race are chaff, wrote Hitler.
Great.
Wow. Right. They wanted to care for the purity of their own blood.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Bible said we're all of one blood.
Wow, you found a contradiction between something that, from your interpretation of the Bible, something from actual Hitler. Doesn't help.
Doesn't help. Also, by this point in time, that word race has evolved. Like, it means something. It means something very different when Hitler says it than when Darwin was saying it.
Also,
just using the word race. Like, sorry, I was like, out of context. That might sound weird.
Well, yeah. Also, let's see, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has gifted a membership, which went to Serge Heichko. So welcome to the channel membership, and we'll take a drink.
Cheers.
By the way, guys, if you want to be added to the patron and member Discord server, very important that you go to Discord and manually link your account. I've had someone say, well, I use the same emails for YouTube and Discord. Doesn't matter. Unless you've actually gone into Discord and linked your account, it won't automatically add you. But if you do, it should. And if it doesn't, then come talk to me. But make sure you do actually do that in Discord. You can't just assume it's going to happen automatically. All right, here we go.
By the way,
Red, yellow, black,
and Tylenol.
Okay.
And now she's just like happily kicking and sitting in her swing and playing with.
Well, good.
So like, good God, babies with like medicine in them are. it's like 0 to 100 in a blink of an eye.
Nice.
Anyway.
White. Remember singing that in Sunday school? I've never been more thankful for the Sunday school songs that I sang growing up, because those songs reflected reality. I
mean, okay, look, the message of the Jesus loves little children, is fine,
yeah.
Although in 2023, the wording is a little cringy.
Yeah, the sentiments there, the wording is not.
To be fair, though, I mean, that is part of the euphemism treadmill, and we can't expect people who were earlier parts of the euphemism treadmill to have, like, somehow time-traveled their consciousness into the future to try to future-proof it. But you also can't future-proof it because there's a euphemism treadmill, so...
Yeah.
We have a super chat from Goopdo3 for $2 who says, Evolution also says we're all of one blood. Yeah, I mean, common ancestry is common for a reason.
Yeah.
So, like, you share ancestry with all the other humans, Matt.
I still do not know, like, I know he just did the incredulous wow. Like, but I still don't know what that was pointed at. Like, I can't, do you know what I mean? Like, I can't.
It's because we only watch him in tiny bits.
Because we can't get more than 3 seconds without having to pause.
Exactly. Because everything he says is so dense with nonsense. He's like a neutron star of nonsense.
He is like a neutron star of nonsense.
Their lives represent a fantasy. And do you know how I know that? Because every time I ask them, I say, what's the meaning of life? The atheists always
Thanks for stepping out of frame, Matt.
Say, well, my meaning of my life is whatever I make up.
But that's what it is for you too, Matt, right?
You might say... Also, that's a conversation with a shampoo bottle.
Yeah, that does sound like something that didn't happen. We'll take a drink.
Yeah. Well, because the idea that every single time he talks to somebody who doesn't share the same faith that he does, like, they give him the exact same answer. Like, that's not... Like, we all know you're making that up.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, right? Let's say that you're a Christian, which I guess is a pretty easy thing for you to imagine, Maddie.
Yeah.
And let's say that means that there is some kind of, like, objective meaning for your life that God has chosen, independent of whatever you think about it.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. You still have to choose to make that the meaning of your life. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. Now, you might argue that it's the wise thing to do if you actually believe in this God, and sure, maybe. But, like, you still have to...
that's still a choice.
Right. You can choose to make your life about something other than what God wants your life to be about. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's what he thinks that people who aren't Christians are doing, because he thinks everyone knows that Christianity is true secretly.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian, Matt. You still get to decide your own meaning. And if you want to choose the meaning that you think you're getting from God, then okay, you can do that. But you could also just do otherwise. No one's going to stop you.
Like, you still have that free will. You know, Christianity's real big on free will, just saying.
Well, then there's the Calvinists. Yeah, it's hard to say anything about Christianity as a whole other than it's really big on Jesus.
That's fair.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Do you realize they're admitting that they're making up or make-believing a purpose for life? They don't think there is purpose.
No. They don't think that there's some objective, intrinsic purpose in the universe. That's not the same thing, right? It's like, it's kind of like the rules of chess, right? The rules of chess aren't somewhere in the physics of the universe, right? There's nothing inherent about physics that results in the rules for chess. But you can't just say the rules of chess don't exist or are made up. They're a convention that a lot of people for a long time have followed. And now when you say to someone, hey, let's go play chess, usually you don't have to argue about which rule set to follow. It's a similar thing, right? There are purposes that people can decide to adopt, and sure, they're not found in like the laws of physics or something. That doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Right. Like, and I guess it technically would be correct to say that like the laws of chess are made up, like because someone made them up or someone's, but we sort of all collectively agreed that that's if we're going to play chess, that's the rule. Those are the rules we're going to follow. Yeah, it's really the collective agreement that matters.
Well, that's the case for a lot of things, and that's the kind of thing that we call a social construct. But social constructs exist. You can't pretend that they don't.
Yeah.
Now, they can be changed, that's true, but they still exist. You don't get to just dismiss their existence.
You're right. Yeah. Just because there's no law of physics that like there's nothing fundamental to chess, but we have chess. Social constructs are real enough,
Yes. And Savage Cobra for $10 says, AIG is an assemblage of fascina gathered unto a bag, as is Matt Powell. Thank you very much. We'll take a drink.
Cheers.
All right, here we go.
So they'd rather make believe, pretend that there isn't.
Nope, that's not pretending and making believe. That's making a decision. They're not the same.
Instead.
Yeah.
That's not honest.
Yes, it is.
If everything just spawned from nothing, let's at least be honest with ourselves. Hitler
deciding. Oh, we also went right back to Hitler. We'll take a quick drink.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Deciding to have a motivation isn't dishonest unless you lie about why you have it.
Yeah.
And I don't hear anything indicating that the hypothetical atheists he's talking to are being dishonest. In fact, his whole point relies on them being honest and saying, I decide my own meaning. There isn't an intrinsic one.
Yeah.
So, but then he's relying on their honesty to then point out their dishonesty, which is incredibly stupid. I'm going to take another drink for it.
Yeah, it's just bad argumentation.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
As I have consistently maintained, is an evolutionist. He has consciously sought to make the practice of Germany conform to evolution. That's why he wiped out peoples, because he thought...
You know who Sir Arthur Keith is? A contemporary of Hitler who wasn't a who wasn't a biographer of Hitler. There are Hitler biographers out there, and they disagree with Sir Arthur Keith's take. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But they were inferior than him, based in evolution. Evolutionists say Hitler was a Christian.
Okay, look.
He demonstrably made deals with like the Vatican.
Yeah, he did. So he made the last concordat that has ever been made with the Vatican. But here's the thing, right? One, it doesn't super matter if Christian. While he was baptized, I believe, as a Catholic, there's not really any strong evidence that he practiced Catholicism as an adult.
I thought it would have been Lutheran.
Well, Germany gets a lot of both.
Okay.
There's also not any strong evidence that he believed in the basic truth claims that come along with sort of like basic Christianity. Like, it's not very clear that he believed in like the divinity of Jesus or Jesus' resurrection. In fact, in some circles in his party, actual professing Christians were kind of looked down upon. However, he was also more than willing to use churches to his advantage, like the Catholic Church with whom he signed a concordat, and various other Protestant churches, which he variously either suppressed or supported officially, based on basically how much they would toe the party line. So the answer to the question, was he a Christian, is sort of like, maybe, but if he was, it was a weird one.
Yeah, also it matters about as much as, like, wasn't he a vegan?
So he was a not super observant vegetarian.
Yeah.
He was mostly vegetarian, but every once in a while he had a sausage.
It like, that has no real bearing on how we judge his actions.
Right. He was also a dog person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think that means that, being a dog person makes you genocidal.
Right. Yeah. Like, right. He also, like, failed out of art school. Right. Like, that doesn't...
Failed artists, the most dangerous people on Earth.
the most dangerous people on earth, right? Like there's other things that are true about him that has no bearing on the fact that like he did evil things. And you know, like, and again, it's so, I think it's so different because like coming from a place where like culturally, like, you know, everyone, I don't know this, like, I'm not a historian. I don't know this exactly, but like there are definitely times and places where like, yeah, everyone went to church on Sunday, right?
Yeah, that's just what you do.
That's just what you do. It's not it's not a reflection of your personal beliefs.
By the way, Messiah Matrix in the chat says that he or she is an evolutionist and a born-again Christian. It's not, and doesn't think that it's rare. It's not very rare. It's
really not. It's the more common stance.
Yeah, that's the majority of Christians are also people who accept evolution. Also, HiveSci has joined the channel at the amniote level. So first, get some tetrapod emojis in there. Welcome to the membership program, Bree. I hope to see you in the supporter Discord soon. So
yeah.
All right, here we go.
Bible-believing Christian. This is what they're telling the kids. He was a Bible believer.
I wouldn't tell kids that because it doesn't seem like it was true.
Also, who is saying that?
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
Who is this they?
I've learned World War II history in schools, and Hitler's...
That never came up.
Yeah, his Christianity was not a big thing. Now, if you want to pretend that they were a bunch of atheists, well, I mean, their belt buckles might disagree with you because they had God with us on their belt buckles. So, you know.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, like the like, well, you know, Hitler. That's something some like edgy teen on Reddit is gonna say, not your history teacher.
Right. And look, a lot of the members of the party were Christians. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. The whole discussion is weird. Anyway, here we go.
The Lord Jesus Christ. No, he was not. He was not a Bible believer.
You know that. Like, I'm just saying, like you know that for sure. You can walk inside his head.
Well, here's the thing. I think that if you could, you'd probably find that he, like I said, didn't accept the basic true claims of Christianity. But I don't see why it matters much. He certainly was able to twist Christianity to aid him, whether or not he was one. So, like, I'm not sure how that helps Christianity.
Yeah, I don't find any of the, like, well, were they really a Christian? Like, that's never a productive conversation.
No, it's not.
Right?
Like
we can definitely say that, like, Hitler's actions were un-Christ-like, right? Like,
that's probably not too hard of an argument to make.
I can also say that, I mean, I'm not trying to compare Matt Powell to Hitler, but I can also say that many of Matt Powell's actions are un-Christ-like.
Well, you know, in terms of what he would like to see happen in the world, there are more similarities than one might be comfortable with between those two.
Yeah, I just don't like to fall into the everyone I don't like is Hitler.
Well, okay, but when both of them advocate openly for genocide, it becomes a little bit less of just you saying everyone I don't like is Hitler and more of a, no, there's a real genuine connection there.
Yeah. All
right.
Matt Powell does advocate for genocide. So.
Yeah, so
I feel fine making fun of his shirt.
Yeah,
it doesn't look good.
Once you openly advocate for genocide, I stop having any concern for your feelings or me being nice to you. It's like, nah, we're kind of over it.
His own contemporary, a scholar, Sir Arthur Keith, said...
Yeah, a contemporary, not one of his biographers.
That Hitler was not a Christian. He is an evolutionist.
Which
that's not
contradictory with Christian. We're taking
those aren't contradictory terms.
Yeah, you can be both. Most Christians are both.
Present tense. Sir Arthur Keith also said that evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable.
That's not true.
It's not true.
That isn't special creation. Like,
so not only is it not true, but also I do want to point out that, Sir Arthur Keith being a contemporary, also a bit of a fan, at least before the outbreak of World War. Because one of the things that people forget is that all over the place, like, there were a lot of unironic fans of the National Socialist German Workers' Party in places like Great Britain and the United States before the war. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, first, eugenics was popular in the US and Great Britain. In fact,
Yeah.
thousands of people were, without their consent, sterilized in the United States on the grounds of various eugenics programs.
Yeah.
That's just a
Would you
thing.
mind if we went to our break early? Because I think that baby needs a bottle.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Guys, we will be back shortly. So, while we take a break, you can enjoy the stylings of Beethoven during this intermission video. All right, and we are back. Guys, first I want to say thank you very much for being here, for sticking with me. We got 102 people here. Only like 20-something of whom have not hit like, so, you know, not a terrible thing. I also want to say that because YouTube is a very volatile kind of income stream, I am encouraging people to go check out my Patreon. I'm hoping that I can get to 1,000 per month on Patreon, because that would basically mean that no matter what YouTube does with monetization, with their cut for creators, with just how much comes in on super chats versus not, that at least the channel is basically sustainable with or without that YouTube income. That would be a great help. In fact, it would basically make it so the channel is going to be more or less in the black pretty much all the time, even with a low amount of YouTube income. So if that's something you're interested in, please check it out. It gives you access to like something like 4 or 5 months at this point of early access content. I think it's somewhere around like 10 hours or so of just extra Dapper Dino content that you can just access. At higher tiers, there are more perks. Every once in a while, I upload Blender files that you can download and use in your own projects if you like Blender and you go to the 10 or more dollar per month tier. Also, there's, I believe, a 12% discount if you go annual, so feel free to check it out. But if you can't afford it, please don't. And just, hit like, share this, stuff like that is also great. So a few things. We're going to hit the super chat first, then we're going to go to Arahamian's gift of 10 memberships. So first, Too Young to Feel This Old says, weekly tie to the Church of Dapper, where our gods, there it is, our kaiju, our archangels, our Power Rangers, and our holy book is written in Klingon. Drink up, my friends. Well, thank you very much. Cheers. I'll take a drink.
I'm taking a drink for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to write an entire script to a Power Rangers episode in Klingon. It'd be great.
Listen, last time I was on here, Dapper, we had a great idea. You had a great idea for actual play that involves learning Klingon.
Yes, I did. So my idea was that we do a Star Trek Adventures game on a Klingon ship, but the players are actually Starfleet officers on a officer exchange language learning program, or like immersion Klingon learning.
Yeah.
So anyway, also, Arahamian gifted 10 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, and I am looking to see if anyone has actually claimed those yet, which it looks like might not have happened, which means, hey guys, make sure you turn on your ability to get gift memberships, because we don't want to let those just sit on the table unused. But we'll take 10 drinks, so here we go. Ooh, 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Okay. Oh, goodness, that's cold. Ooh.
Hold on, I'm behind.
Okay.
I added more Gen to the top of it.
Oh,
bad idea. Drinking Gen.
Bad idea. Ready?
Okay, I'm at 7.
Okay. 8. 9. 10. And then one more for Mothra.
One more for Mothra.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I've been asking the chat, how do you get the membership? If you right click on the gifted membership thing, it should allow you to activate your allow gift memberships. If anyone has a link to the help page from YouTube that shows you how to do that, please put it in the chat if you could. So that would be any of my mods. For some reason, some channels are set to be quote-unquote brand channels, and for some reason they're not eligible, and it's dumb and I hate it, but like, I guess that's what it is. All right, here we go. We're gonna get back into this.
So on April 20th,
Here it is. We're right into Columbine, right after. Goodness gracious. Just take a drink.
I don't even know what we were doing to get to Columbine. It doesn't matter.
Nothing. We're just talking about the National Socialist German Workers' Party. We're bad guys, which, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Crypto, 457, Enboy Way, and Shauna Davis all claimed some of those gift memberships that are sitting on the table. Also, for $10, Jake Nelson says, AIG... Oh, okay, we're going German here. Ooh. AIG, sie ist eine Tasche de Hosenschlange. I don't speak German, so that's the closest I'm going to get. Sorry, Germans out there.
I don't know. I heard schlong in there.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what it means, but like I don't do German, so like.
Gotcha.
You know. Also, Steve Areno, who's been a member for 3 months, is at the amniote level, says Mothra requires you to drink with a Mothra emoji. So, okay, Mothra, here we go.
Okay, Mothra.
We are up to 40. Goodness. This. Oh, yeah, this is a very, very pre-mixed margarita.
Did you get salt?
No.
Dapper.
I know. All right, here we go.
This is just one of the school shootings that was carried out by some atheists. Now, this is the one that...
Yeah, this is, again, he's earlier in this video claimed that atheists lead the world in school shootings, and then we looked into it. We couldn't find anything to even suggest that that was being kept as a statistic, like religious affiliation of mass shooters, let alone that atheists lead the pack.
Really
yeah, so
got
you don't
me.
know where he's getting those numbers.
Oh, I know exactly where he's getting them. His own colon.
His brain? Like, yeah.
No, his own colon, yeah.
Oh, okay. His butt.
Mm-hmm.
Fired up for God and wanting to live for Christ. On April 20th of 1999, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris went into Columbine High School.
Yeah, we already.
Do you guys remember Columbine?
Yes, I'm not even going to ask my audience. If you're old enough, you remember it. If you're not, you don't. That's like, I'll say if you're an American, right? That's all it takes. If you live in America and you're old enough, you remember it.
It's the most famous school shooting in U.S. history. And they shot people at the school and murdered people. The first victim was Rachel Scott. Now, Rachel Scott was a Christian. She was a fundamental Baptist. She was saved. And Rachel
was saved from the gunman, but okay.
Said in her journal, she says, I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. And Rachel was always nice to Dylan and Eric. She was always trying to share the gospel with them, see them come to know Christ.
That doesn't make her nice to them.
That doesn't make her nice.
She might have been, right? I'm not saying she wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying using that as your evidence of her being nice to them doesn't really work. And I'm not excusing what they did. I'm just saying going around trying to push your religion on people is not the same thing as being nice to them. You can do it nicely, and you can do it out of a sense of compassion, but you can also be a dick about it, which, case in point, Matt Powell.
Right. I'm trying to figure out if this is a gnat or a piece of cookie in my drink, and that's more interesting than anything Matt has.
Well, remember what Muhammad said. If you find a fly in your drink, dunk it in, because one wing carries a disease, and the other wing carries the cure. Which, no, that's not true, by the way, guys.
I don't even know what that means. My grandpa always said, don't worry,
Sorry, he said, don't worry, what?
He won't drink much, the fly.
Oh, that's probably true, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lulabar says, if you're old enough, you remember Columbine made news around the world. I'm Australian and remember that news. Oh, fair enough.
Fair.
Yeah.
But Dylan and Eric killed her anyway, just because they felt maybe they had no hope.
No, let's not. You're not a psychiatrist. Yeah, let's not psychoanalyze. You're 0% qualified.
Yeah, psychoanalyzing people from more than 20 years ago who you never met. And Matt, not only are you not a psychologist, you're the kind of person who needs to be informed that, in fact, no, the sun isn't literally on fire consuming oxygen. Yeah.
And let's not. I find it very gross when we use victims of tragedy, right, to sort of further an agenda, right? So this whole talking point of his just makes me very uncomfortable.
Oh, and Soulcat claimed another of the memberships that are currently on the table from Erechamian. So welcome, Soulcat.
Welcome, Soulcat.
All right, here we go.
Eric wrote this in his journal, one of the shooters. He says, you know what I love? Natural selection.
Which is not what he engaged in on that day.
Nope.
That was artificial selection, at best.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that ever happened to the earth. Getting rid of all the stupid and weak organisms. But it's all natural. Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a kid who was primed for the alt-right pipeline.
Oh, yeah. Although back then that term hadn't been invented yet.
Right.
So here's the thing, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend that no one has ever used evolution as an excuse to do horrible things. But there's two problems with it. One, that doesn't make it false, right? Even if literally everyone who believed evolution was true went on mass killing sprees motivated by, like, racism or something, that would not actually make evolution not true. Just like, so that's called an argument from consequences, right? It's like if I say to you, hey, your house is on fire, and you say, no, that can't be true, because then my family would be stuck inside of a burning house and all my stuff would be destroyed. And that sounds like it would suck, so I choose not to believe you. Well, guess how much that tells you, your rejection of that has to do with whether or not your house is on fire. It's nothing. It doesn't matter at all. The fact that it would be bad for you if your house were on fire doesn't mean a damn thing about whether or not it is. Second, here's the other thing. If you want to play the game of, has this group that is unified mostly by some belief done bad things, then it's not going to come out super great for Christianity. Because lots of Christians have done really bad things, and lots of them, now, granted, lots of them haven't based those bad things on Christianity, but also lots of them have, right? Like, I currently live in a hemisphere that was entirely invaded and largely enslaved by people who were doing it on, at least with part of their motive being Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. Why enslave all those people? Why did the Spanish enslave all those native people? I mean, in part, it was because they needed someone to work their silver mines. But also the excuse they gave was, well, we're trying to Christianize these savages. Not really a great thing.
Right, and remember, Matt Powell actively thinks genocide is a good idea.
But only when it's people he doesn't like. Which, you know...
Right, but only when it's people he doesn't like.
Of course, that's how it usually works.
Right.
So, you know... Yeah. So, yeah. We'll hit play and we'll hear more about Columbine for some reason.
Do you think maybe evolution had a part in what happened that day at Columbine? I think so.
I mean, kind of, but in the same way, we can now then just say that, hey, do you think that Christianity had a part in, say, I don't know, the enslavement of people in, say, the Americas on the basis that, you know, you were taking them in and Christianizing them and they were under the curse of Ham anyway? Yeah, it did.
Or we could also say, like, does Matt Powell's beliefs play a role in the fact that he, again, actively advocates for genocide?
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know why Matt thinks that this is a good argument against evolution, because if it is, which it's not, also a great argument against Christianity. So, and also, I mean, most other things, right? Like, find me the ideology that hasn't had people use it as an excuse for bad things. There's not very many. So we'll take a drink. Nonsense.
Okay.
I guess Jainism. As far as I know, no one has ever committed any atrocities because of Jainism. It would be hard to justify that. Oh, and Dustin Carroll also claimed one of the Erechamian gift memberships. Thank you very much, Dustin. Yes.
He's saying it right on his journal, right before he died, right on his own website. So when they shot Rachel, they picked her up by the head because she was outside. And Rachel was having lunch with one of her friends. Well, they shot Rachel.
Look, we're not going to go through a blow-by-blow the Columbine shootings.
I really don't want to do that. Yeah.
We're going to skip ahead. That's not something that we're going to have on the channel here. I can't do that. Because first, all of my responses are going to be exactly the same. And second, quite frankly, I don't need that content to be on my channel. If you want to look into the play-by-play, feel free to do it on your own time somewhere else.
Let's say yes. You believe in God?
I'm still doing it.
Still doing it. And also, this whole story he's telling, this was largely embellished after the fact. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's get past this. He's trying
to
make
Rachel
people
wrote
feel
that.
sad.
Oh, that's still Rachel.
Did up until the last moment. He loved it.
Still with the Columbine.
Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's the last thing that Jesus said before crying out to the Father. He said, Father, forgive them.
Okay, come on, Matt. Get to something else.
Sources, a couple of films that we produced.
Nope, it's just commercials. Maddie, we did it.
We did it. We finished.
We finished this video.
Oh.
That's it. It ends with a
commercials.
It ends with commercials after a excruciatingly long segment on Columbine.
Why is it the only thing he can keep on point with, the only topic he can stick with for more than 5 seconds was Columbine? Jeez.
Well, okay, to be fair to Matt, he did say that was a big part, like that happened during his formative years, and it's a big part of, like, he probably wouldn't use it this way, but I think it like constituted like a form of like childhood trauma for him.
Okay.
So I understand why he has a particular fixation on that event, and I don't think, like, I understand why it is not necessarily reasonable, but like understandable that he does. However,
okay, no,
I think he drew the wrong conclusions from that.
I'm going to call a little BS on that, Dapper.
Okay.
Because Matt Powell is younger than me.
Okay.
Right? I was 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good thing then. Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
Because, yeah, he would have been like, what, like 5?
Yeah.
Like, how aware could he have been of it?
Yeah. That's like, he was probably about as old as I was when the Oklahoma City bombing happened, right? And I remember that I was like in kindergarten, and I live in Oklahoma, right? And I did at the time. So I remember that making me sad.
Right, but it didn't become like a major part of your personality or anything.
Right. Yeah. Like, so he would have been
probably like barely not a toddler at that point, because he's really young.
Yeah, like
I think he's still in his 20s.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if he's 5 years younger than me, he might have been in kindergarten.
Yeah,
it's like I don't think this was formative unless that story was used over.
Well, it might have been.
It might have been.
I would not put that past the kind of people who raise Matt Powell.
Right. Yeah. Like, I guess. Okay. So I could go with, like, that event could have been made to be a formative story in his life.
Yeah.
Right. But, like, I don't think he would have been super affected.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyway.
All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna stop streaming. I actually have another video with a different Matt. Different Matt this time. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the intermission screen, but that's just so that I can set up the next stream, share it with Maddie, all that. So please stick with me. This will not be a long intermission. We're not even leaving yet. So.
Nope. I still have my drink is still good to go.
I actually brought the bottle off and topped myself off after the 10 drink. Well, actually turned into like a 12 drink marathon there. So yeah, I still have a full glass ready to go for the second hour. So yeah, it's not good, but it'll get me drunk. You know. All right, guys, we will be right back. All right, guys, that was not long, and we are back. And here's the thing. We're back with an entirely new Matt.
I've never even heard this Matt. Who is this Matt?
This is Matthew McLean.
It's alliterative.
It is alliterative. He might
also
actually
knows...
be a Marvel character because his name is...
and he does have a better suit. Like,
no, this is not Matt McLean. This is the guy introducing
Matt
McLean.
McLean.
But I do think Matt McLean will be wearing a better suit than Matt Powell was.
Okay.
And also,
I'm just like,
I've never
the suit would have been fine if he just wore a more neutral shirt.
I've also never heard Matt McLean openly advocate for genocide. So
hey, he's got points.
Right. He's already starting off ahead of Matt Powell, who is the actual worst.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Well, our speaker this morning, and then after lunch is the vertebrate boars, Jersey 3.
There he is. That's Matt McLean.
He does have a better suit.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I like his tie. This feels like early Kent with Bent when we were still watching videos where Kent was wearing cool ties. Matt has a cool tie.
Okay, yeah.
I want to go ahead and say thank you to Steve and also to Dr. Mortensen. Fantastic things we heard last night and this morning. I felt very encouraged to hear from the Word of God and to be reminded about all of this ultimately being about God's glory.
I feel like there's about a tenth of a second desync between the video and the audio. And it's going to bug me.
Can you fix it?
Maybe. Not today, and I'm probably not going to try.
I was about to say, like, are you going to try to fix it right now? Is that what you're telling me?
No, it would take me longer than we have left to try to fix like a tenth of a second audio desync, because I would have to just like take it into an editing program and like slide the audio or the video track over by like a tenth of a second and then re-render the entire thing. Not going to happen.
Gotcha.
It's interesting to ask questions as a scientist. It's interesting to think about things as a...
Yeah, it's interesting to think about things as a scientist. I'll give you that. That's true, Matt. Take a drink for it.
That's true. That's so true. I like to think about things.
As a scientist, even.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so are we going Romanian with this one, Wayne Rossi? Okay, so Wayne Rossi for $1.99 says, and I am very much guessing here, respondo en genetzo esta saco de decoy, which I'm pretty sure I know what we're going for there, but is that Romanian? I think it's Romanian.
Don't look at me, man. I barely speak English.
Well, so the thing is, when it comes to romance languages, I can usually read most Western romance languages, but Romanian is like an entirely different beast. It's not Romanian.
I've never been so tongue-tied as I was.
Oh, it's Esperanto. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, right, look, because we got Sako, the O is the noun suffix, and yeah, the OE from Greek for Esperanto. Yeah, okay, that checks out. Look, I don't know Esperanto either.
Okay, I'm gonna make fun of myself for a second. Like, I think I have a decently right? But I've never felt more like and I used to have more of a accent, and I don't really have one now. But I will never get so tongue-tied and feel like such a bumpkin as I will when I was like trying to pronounce students' names in the Navy, and we would get somebody with like a pretty like Eastern European last name that just has too many consonants in a row, and I was like, I don't know what to do with that. I can't make my mouth make those shapes.
Speaking of Esperanto, by the way, there is a really bad all Esperanto horror movie starring guess who?
Starring
Star Trek captain. I'll give you that.
Is it Captain Sisko?
No.
Is it Okay, it's not going to be Stewart. Is it Kirk?
Yep.
Is it William Shatner?
William Shatner starred in an all Esperanto horror movie.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I love it. Listen, I love that like Picard, like Patrick Stewart is like in. Oh, here he is with this touring with the Shakespeare company, and and like I know Shatner is a Shakespearean trained actor, right? Like,
right.
But still.
Also, apparently, my Esperanto pronunciation was pretty good, which, hooray! Me with my...
Proud of you.
I barely even acknowledge that Esperanto exists most of the time, because it doesn't matter to my daily life, but I'm glad I got it kind of right. So, all right, Matt, what do you got for us?
Theologian, but ultimately, we've got to be focusing on the glory of God. And that's why we do what we do. If that's not what we're focused on, then we are just kind of missing the point. So today, I want to talk to you about whether the fossil record supports naturalistic evolution.
Okay, here we go, guys. That's going to be our first poll of the night. We're going to start a poll. All right, here we go.
What is the Masters University?
So it's, as far as I know, it is a young Earth creationist but accredited Christian university.
Okay.
All right, does the fossil record support, and here's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with just evolution, because naturalistic evolution I don't really care about. If you want to be a theistic evolutionist, have fun with it. Evolution, we're going to have yes, no, and only 4 turtles as our options, guys. No poll is complete unless there's a turtle option. Which, by the way, I'm highly looking forward to this next Ninja Turtles Power Rangers comic book crossover, in which apparently the Rangers are going to be exposed to the ooze and become mutant Rangers who are like part the animal from their power coin.
What?
Yes. And of course, the Turtles once again take on the Power Ranger powers so that they can morph into the Turtle Rangers again.
Amazing.
Yes. Also, April gets a power coin.
Oh, cool.
But Casey does not. At least he didn't last time.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Ranger forms from the last crossover. Shredder took the green power coin and became the evil green Shredder Ranger. Then the 4 turtles took, I believe, all but pink. And then April O'Neil got the pink power coin. I'm the 5th member of the team, with a total of 6 Ranger coins being used in that crossover.
Okay.
Yep. It was really good. It starts with a friend of Tommy's joins the Foot, feels like he doesn't have like any future, and they're offering him a future. Then Tommy goes and try to infiltrate the Foot clan because he's like, no man, this isn't how you should do it. You shouldn't join some evil secret ninja organization in New York. That's a bad idea.
Right. Yeah. Terrible plan.
So anyway, yeah, go read the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers comic book crossover. Anyway, here we go.
And this is an interesting question, an important question. I was told a long time ago you shouldn't begin papers and presentations with questions because it could just be either yes or no, you know?
And you know what? I think it's an important question, too. We'll take a drink.
Fair. I've heard...
Here we go.
And you'll find out the answer to that. But both my talks this time ended up starting with questions. So.
Okay, Crypto457 says Dragon Zord versus Godzilla. Also a crossover. There was recently a Power Rangers Godzilla comic book crossover, and yes, the first battle that happens between anything Power Rangers and anything Godzilla is Godzilla versus basically the Godzilla Zord, the Dragon Zord. So, yeah, I'm not going to spoil who wins that fight, but you can go read that comic book series too.
I guess I'm disobeying that, but not intentionally. I just think it sounds better that way. Let me give you just a little bit about me first, and you've already heard.
Nah, man, I don't really care.
Hold on, I'm going to look up Loma Linda University, but continue.
That is a Seventh-day Adventist school.
Okay, but I want to know what their accreditation is.
Ah, yes.
Heard about my wife. Him if I can home that day, the next day, pleased that he got it back. And you know, our youngest, she can't talk, but anytime a dog barks, anytime she sees a dog, she wants to look at that, you know, and she's going, decade, pointing at the dog.
By the way, Hive Size says, I wonder what direction my life would have taken if I decided to join the Foot, though, not gonna lie. I mean, look, you probably would have been beat up by the Ninja Turtles repeatedly, which doesn't sound like a great life to me.
No.
I think that is how God built us. God built us with a wonder as we look at his creation, a desire to see those things because they are his handiwork. And
and then to go lie about them, like young Earth creationists tend to. Yeah, that's totally what God had in mind. I'm taking a drink. Because here's the thing, right? Let's say you're religious, and you think that God has installed in humans, whether it be through a process of evolution or whatever, a curiosity to go and look at nature and investigate it. I think that comes with... oh, sorry, go ahead.
So apparently at Loma Linda University, what I found, unless there's more than one, they only have, like, the only programs they have are, like, health. So, like, nursing, pharmacy, behavioral health, dentistry, medicine, public health, and religion. That's it. That's all they have.
I think that might be a different one, though, because I've read a master's thesis in paleontology from Linda.
Okay.
So I think maybe it's a different Loma Linda. Is that one in California?
Uh-huh.
I don't know, because I mean, I've definitely read, I remember the author, Summer Rose Weeks, who wrote a master's thesis for paleontology that was signed off by Dr. Arthur Chadwick of Loma Linda.
Okay.
So, in fact, I remember it very specifically because on its own it basically precludes what was it? I think it was the Morrison Formation from being a flood deposit. No, it was the Lance Formation. Sorry, not the Morrison. Lance Formation. Which, when you go north enough, turns into the Hell Creek Formation. Once you get into, like, Montana. Anyway, here we go.
Children can appreciate that. We should too. We should not lose that sense of wonder. And I mean, that's why I became a paleontologist, because I'm interested in these things. I always say, even if there weren't a creation evolution debate, I'd be a paleontologist.
Well, good news. There isn't one. There's as much of a creation evolution debate as there is a flat versus globe debate, which is to me, like, sure, you can find some creationists out there, and sure, they like to argue about it, but, like, in the real world, with real people doing real science, no, there's no debate about it. It's a silly thing that some religious fundamentalists believe for bad reasons. That's it.
Yeah.
So, good job, guy. You did what you would have done if the world were the way it is. Which...
Their earth science program is in their school of medicine.
That's weird. That's bizarre. So, So wait, Arthur Chadwick is part of their medicine program despite being a paleontologist? Sure, whatever. That's fine. I don't... That, you know what? Of all the things that I've learned about Loma Linda University over the years, that's the least crazy of them, if I'm being entirely honest.
That's bizarre. I'll stop looking things up and pay attention to what you say, but...
Okay.
Because you're looking and exposing the glory of God, and that's exciting. So I work on vertebrate animals, and I had a thing up there. I don't know if we can see that again. Just so an example, this is a T-Rex bone at the top here, and that has T-Rex tooth marks on it, so that was fun. We got to talk about T-Rex cannibalism as part of our research, and...
that is legitimately cool.
That is legitimately cool.
Today, we are going to, getting to our topic now, does the fossil record support naturalistic evolution, or might there be another model that explains it better?
You know what? There might be. But you actually have to do the work of showing that it does.
Yeah.
And I feel like Matt hasn't done that. And the reason for that is because, the reason I think that he hasn't done that is because, he's not like a household name, and even among paleontology circles, for the important reason that, as far as I know, he hasn't really done much very significant research. And if he had something up his sleeve as important as, completely demolishing the entire foundational idea of all of biology, I feel like maybe I'd know about that already.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe this lecture is going to change my mind about that. It could happen.
Here's the thing, though. So far, he has not advocated genocide, so...
Okay, true, but also he's giving this talk in a church.
Meh, yeah.
There's only one reason to give a talk about paleontology in a church, and it's if you want to disagree with what science says. Because otherwise, I can't see why you would bother, because you would just tell people, hey, go, watch PBS Eons or something. Which, by the way, guys, after this, go watch PBS Eons. It's great. I'm never going to tell people that watching PBS Eons is going to be a bad idea.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Oh, drink for Mothra.
Cheers. Is that a second one?
No, it's just that Mothra makes a lot of noise.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately, you've already had Dr. Mortensen to tell you about what naturalism is, what naturalistic evolution is, but let me give you a quick definition so you remember. This is a view of the origins of the universe that states all things came about by natural processes over a long period of time.
No, many things happen quickly under, and look, he's saying naturalistic evolution. What we all know he means is just science, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to include the Big Bang, the nebular hypothesis of the solar system's formation, all of like actualist geology, all of that stuff. Some things happen fast. Take a drink for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go.
And all organisms can be traced back to a single common ancestor. This is the idea.
Well, okay, that's a part of modern evolutionary biology, at least as it concerns Earth. So it's like,
yeah,
kind of right, but it's a little bit more involved than that. But I think for a like 40-minute sermon at a church, that's probably sufficient. All organisms can be traced back to it.
Yeah, there's some like I guess there's nothing inherent in the evolution process that requires there to be a single common ancestor.
Yeah.
It just, that's what the evidence suggests is true.
Right.
But that's a level of nuance that I would expect a non-specialist audience to like appreciate or need.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
That's why I'm like, it's fair enough given this format.
Yeah.
If this were like a formal textbook that you were trying to give to like, graduate students, then I'd say, come on, man, you should do better than that.
Right. Right. So like let's give him let's do this. Let's assume I'm not going to complain about any language that is like communicating at an 8th grade level, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because so like newspapers are generally to an 8th grade reading level because so like that's the sort of common education that we assume people in the United States have. So
Yeah.
if you can explain it to an 8th grader, you can explain it to the general public. So like I'm willing to give a lot of grace for people giving like talks to the general public,
By the way, Too Young to Feel This Old says, I've never wanted to buy a comic book more than I do now that you've told me about the MMPR TMNT crossover.
Dude, go to your friendly local comic book store and support small local businesses.
Even if they don't have copies at hand, they can
They'll order it for you. Yeah, they'd be so happy to order it for you.
Go do it. It's a lot of fun. You got to remember that like the crossover isn't going to have like major plot impacts on either comic book series because those crossovers, they might as well happen in their own universe. But like, it's a fun story. And also, if you're interested, the Power Rangers comic books by Boom Studio are excellent. Like really, really good.
One of my favorite ridiculous like books I've ever read was a physical novel that I bought in a store, right? That was an X-Men Star Trek Next Generation crossover.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And yes, they brought up that Patrick Stewart was both people.
Awesome.
It was beautiful.
All right, here we go.
Idea of the evolutionary tree of life. Now, all of this finds its foundation in a philosophical idea called naturalism.
No, actually, you don't have to be a philosophical naturalist to accept evolution. We'll take a drink for that being incredibly stupid. Maddie, are you a philosophical naturalist?
I don't think so, but I am one of those scientists. I don't strictly know what philosophical naturalism is.
Well, it would be a rejection of the existence of anything supernatural, so that would probably include gods, ghosts, demons.
Oh, so no, I am not a philosophical naturalist.
Okay. Now, do you use gods, demons, ghosts, or angels as an explanatory mechanism in your science?
Sure don't.
Okay. Well, I would say that would put you in the category of a methodological naturalist, philosophical non-naturalist.
There you go. So, so to me, whether or not you like whatever your personal beliefs are about like, the supernatural, right, shouldn't have any bearing on science because science, by definition, only deals with natural phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the attempt to explain as much as possible via natural causation.
Exactly. Like science, by definition, can't handle anything supernatural.
That doesn't mean that things that are supernatural don't exist or aren't true.
Right. That's just science. Yeah, like that's a long rant, but
right.
Science, it's different. And listen, man, I barely like. I want the hardest science, right? I want it to be physics and math, right? And not statistics. I just want to do dynamics all day long. If I can't represent a system as a partial differential equation, I don't want to touch with it because that just seems too messy.
Also, we have Vishanti in the chat pointing out that
Hi, Vishanti.
That the origin story for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was essentially intentionally a parody of the Daredevil origin story. And
amazing.
If you read like Ninja Turtles, like the first comic book, the sludge that binds Matt Murdock then falls into a sewer to create the Ninja Turtles.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Now, is this technically officially canon in either the Mutant Turtle or Marvel? No, because it was an intentional parody. However, I mean, that was the intent behind that origin story, was to connect it unofficially to Daredevil. It's also why Daredevil fights the Ninja Clan, the Hand, and
and they fight the Foot?
Right.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that so much.
Which now puts the Power Rangers in the Marvel Universe. So take that, everybody.
All
right, here we go.
And as I said, Dr. Mortensen has already touched on this, so I don't have to go into great detail. But let me give you a definition. This is a philosophical belief that all things that exist can be observed by the senses.
No, it's not. That's a lie, the first part. Philosophical naturalism in no way says that nothing that exists can be undetectable by the senses, right? Like, radio waves exist under philosophical naturalism. You cannot directly sense radio waves with your senses. We're just going to take a drink for a blatant lie about naturalism. Now, the second part, that only natural mechanisms are at play in the universe, is accurate. But that doesn't stop the whole sentence from being a lie.
That only natural mechanisms are at play in the universe. If any of you ever saw the old show, Cosmos, with the guy whose name I just forgot, so that's exciting. Sagan, there we go, Carl Sagan. That happens in class all the time. The students just look at me, Carl Sagan, and he would always say that the universe...
No, he said the cosmos.
The cosmos is all there ever was, all there ever is, all there ever will be.
Yeah, because he's defining with the word cosmos.
Yeah, that's what the universe is.
No, it's not even what the universe is. It's what the cosmos is, right?
Cosmos is.
There could well be things outside the universe, but they're still part of the cosmos, because literally, the word cosmos is all that exists. That's what the word means. So, I'm sorry that Carl Sagan defined a word at the beginning of his show. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm going to take a drink for Carl Sagan in defining a word. Apparently, that in and of itself gave support to philosophical naturalism, which didn't
actually,
really.
I guess I might technically be a philosophical naturalist. Because that's a rant for a different day.
Look,
maybe.
the supernatural is generally ill-defined, which is one of the problems.
That's because that's part of the problem. Because I don't think that like anything exists that's not part of the universe.
Yeah.
Right. But I recognize that the universe is much bigger than I am able to perceive or comprehend.
Yeah. Well,
so there are things that I cannot perceive or comprehend that exist, is my assumption.
So
right?
Dr. Tapioca Weasel asks, does the cosmos include things that only abstractly like numbers or concretely like universes? Yeah, we're not going to get into number realism because that's way too much of a side topic. But I'll just say that basically it depends on which philosophy of abstract thing like numbers you think is accurate.
Yeah.
Lord Crocosquirrel says, I see what you did on the thumbnail. Well, good, because I spent like an hour making sure that you would see that. So, all right, here we go.
That's naturalism in a nutshell. If you want a really simple definition of this, there is no supernatural.
Yeah, that's fair. Take a drink. That's pretty good summary.
Yeah, and that's, again, if our expectation is in 8th grade level.
Yeah. And of course, that's, glossing over the problem that the supernatural tends to be ill-defined. But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All that exists are the things we can observe with our senses.
No! Stop saying that. That's done. We're taking a drink for it.
Okay.
That is it. And so that is the foundation for naturalistic evolution. And I can, of course, give...
No, it's not foundational for evolution either, because plenty of supernaturalists believe in evolution. Take another drink.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a quick overview of naturalistic evolution. You're probably familiar with these things. There being a Big Bang.
Oh, hey, look, I was right. He's including literally everything from the Big Bang that is part of science.
Oh my god. Okay, so is that a drink for a correct prediction?
Absolutely.
Okay. Cheers.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
Look,
I was going to be down for him talking about paleontology, right?
And instead, we're going
to the Big Bang. I was
course.
worried I wasn't going to be able to comment because I don't know much about fossils.
Yeah, well, as is typical with young Earth creationists, they just lump all of science together. And here's the thing, right? They do it for the same reason that flat earthers combine geocentrism, the globe, heliocentrism, the globe, the Big Bang, as all part of the the globe lie. It's because when you deny essentially all of science, it makes sense to lump all of science into the one category that you don't like.
Yeah.
So,
almost 14 billion years ago, the Earth forming about 4.6 billion years ago, the moon around the same time, and then life evolving. I've got up there 3.5 billion years. It's being pushed back to 3.7 or 3.8. But life originally being very simple cellular organisms, which are going to evolve into all the different...
Actually, no. Life probably started out pre-cellular. Well, I'm going to take a drink for him getting that wrong because as someone involved in biology, he should know better.
He should know better. I could get away with not knowing better because I don't know much about biology, but he should.
But also, we have to take a look at this. All right, so we got sponges branching off first, which is probably fair. Then jellyfish, which again is fair. And then we get the branch that's going into Deuterostomia, but it looks like we're using the Lophotrochozoa idea, which is probably no longer accurate. So we have annelids branching off before cephalopods, which would make them spiralians. But if I remember correctly, I think annelids are actually ecdysozoans, which should put them on the next chart over, but not a huge thing. Roundworms, okay, fine. Nicophorans as arthropodomorphs, yeah, that's fine. Or panarthropods, I mean, sorry. We're definitely wrong with trilobites and arachnids branching off separately, and with arachnids being more closely related to crustaceans. Trilobites are at least stem chelicerates, if not crown chelicerates, so they should branch off with arachnids, with the crustaceans and insects, which is again wrong, because insects are actually nested within the paraphyletic crustacea, so we're wrong there. So then we're going to go over to the vertebrates. So tunicates branching off first within chordata that's fine. Then lampreys next is also fine. Sharks next, probably, yeah. Then saying fish is a little weird. You should probably say actinopterygians rather than just fish, because there are some fish that are more closely related to tetrapods than they are to other things that we call fish. My Unfinished Journey says, is MM a mythological naturalist? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so then we get to the synapsid diapsid divide, which is fine. Then we've got lizards branching off and crocodilians. So okay, so we're basically saying lepidosauria for lizards. Then, yeah, crocodiles do branch off from Archosauria before you get the pterosaurs and dinosaurs. And birds are not branching away from dinosaurs; they are dinosaurs. But like, if you're going to use Triceratops and what looks like some kind of duck as like your two groups, and that is the correct shape. Pelycosaur is weird because Pelycosauria is it's also paraphyletic, so you can't say Pelycosaurs branch off before Therapsids. Really makes sense. But other than that, yeah, the rest of the chart, like monotremes, marsupials, placentals, and okay, again, putting humans as next to placentals, despite the fact that they are placentals, is weird. But like, if you would like, I don't know, proboscideans and then humans, it would have worked, which is what you're picturing. So like, I'm gonna give this chart like a 6 out of 10.
Okay, though better than the other two mats we've gone over on this. Like, I'm not trying to I'm not.
Oh yeah, this is way better than either of the other mats.
This is way better. Also, he cited a source, and I.
Oh yeah, philopic.org.
Yeah.
Never
so
heard of
anyone,
it.
Yeah, but I'm on the site. It exists, and it's free silhouette images of animals, plants, and other life forms.
Oh well, good. Also,
available to reuse under a public domain or Creative Commons license.
I don't think the placement of rotifers plus flatworms works. I'm pretty sure that flatworms branching off earlier, but then again, I'm not an expert on flatworms, so
okay.
Take that with a grain of salt. If Jackson Wheat were here, I'm sure that he would be able to help us out more.
Fair. Yeah, I'm sure Jackson, the good Jackson would be all over this. But
oh yeah, this is like good Jackson's jam right here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Animals and plants we have today. I just have animals up here, but giving a tree of life, starting with more primitive animals like jellyfish and sponges.
No, they're not more primitive. They're more basally branching. But that doesn't make them more primitive, right? Jellyfish are highly derived. Now, you could make the argument that sponges are more basal because they don't even have tissues. So, like, I guess kind of, but there are also some very highly derived sponges out there. So, like, there's a reason that scientists try not to call things more or less, quote unquote, primitive.
Yeah, because it's leaning into that idea. So using that like primitive versus advanced, right? Because that's the opposite. If you're not primitive, you're advanced. At least in like, maybe not to a biologist, but like to me.
Well, that is actually the older terminology that biology used to use, primitive versus advanced.
Gotcha. And that implies that kind of the idea that evolution has a goal.
Exactly, which is why evolutionary biology has moved away from those terms and now uses basal versus derived.
Gotcha. Because arguably the best organism would be like a horseshoe crab, right? They like hit
you could make
peak
that
evolution.
Argument, yeah. Maybe sharks too.
Yeah, but like hits survivability in the fewest steps, right? Like,
sharks are older than trees. Let that one sink in.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Right.
That's upsetting. That's as upsetting as the oh gosh, that's as upsetting as the phrase, the Appalachian Mountains are older than bones.
But it's true.
It's true, but it's an upsetting phrase.
Inkboy says, isn't nowadays the word archaic the word primitive? In some context, yeah, that's also an option. But yeah, like nothing here should be properly termed as more primitive. Say more basal or more derived, that's fine.
Yeah, like I'm comfortable using the word primitive to describe like tools or technology, but not a natural process.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Moving up.
Oh, wait, no. Also, he skipped out on the best worms, priapulid worms.
Why are they the best worms?
Because their colloquial name is penis worms. That's it.
Amazing.
That's the entire reason. Also, they're named after the literal god of big dicks.
Who's the literal god of big dicks?
Priapus. From which we also get the medical term priapism, which is a extremely long-lasting and dangerous erection. Which, hey, fun fact, you know what the standard treatment for priapism is? Lancing.
Needle. I was about to say needle to the dick.
Basically, yeah, lancing and draining.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Yeah. Try. People who can get it, try not to get priapism. Doesn't sound like a fun time. And people are like, oh, that sounds horrible. Why would they do that? Well, the other option is basically necrosis of the entire thing. So, like, you know.
It falls off?
Yeah, or it would have to be removed entirely.
Jeez.
If it dies, which is the other option.
Yeah.
So, anyway, enough disturbing medical facts. Let's go to disturbing fossil facts.
Into eventually our vertebrate animals, and man being at the end of that line. And support for this idea.
No, man isn't at the end of the line. Man is an extant species that happens to be at the tip of some branch, like every other extant species.
Every extant species is at the tip of a branch.
Right?
Yeah.
Humans are no more the end process of evolution than are like Asian elephants, or tigers, or like European wall lizards, or Jackson's chameleons, or pine trees. All of these are equally the end of the branch because they just currently exist.
Yeah.
All right, let's check this chart.
I'm starting to get sad for this guy's education.
Okay, first animals should be way lower. It should be way lower than the Ediacaran. That's not right. I know you guys can't see it because of the way I have it set up, but he has first animals as being like mid-Cambrian, which is no. First fish, the Cambrian. Look, it depends on what you mean by fish, but like I think it's reasonable. Sorry. First plants, end of the Silurian. That's probably fine. First amphibians, Devonian. Okay, look, it depends on whether you mean like Lysamphibia or like stem amniotes, but if you mean stem amniotes, then yeah, that's probably fine too. Let's see. Erhamian asked if I just said the Triceratops were at the end of evolution. I mean, they were their own little end of evolution, and then they went extinct, so kind of. Carboniferous, first reptiles, that should be first amniotes. Triassic, first dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and mammals. Well, okay, so we're getting like Mammaliformes in the Triassic. The first crown mammals are probably in the Jurassic. We have first birds as Jurassic. Well, again, that's like, do you mean like aviale? Then yeah, probably. But if you mean like crown aves, then no, that's probably into the Cretaceous. First flowering plants, he has that toward the beginning of the Cretaceous. It should be towards the end. Paleogene for first horses. I mean, it depends on what exactly you count as a horse, but if you mean like first stem horses, then yeah, that's fine. And he's got first humans in the Quaternary. Again, it depends on exactly what you mean by first humans, but yeah, that's probably fine. I'm going to give this chart like an 8 out of 10.
Okay, in our being generous, like up for again like 8th grade science level, is this okay except for that first animal?
Not quite. There are a few things that should probably be moved around. Like if you want to say first mammals, just put it in the Jurassic. And don't worry about like mammaliform various things like, you know, they aren't quite mammals, but if you saw them, you'd probably call them a mammal. Just don't worry about that for 8th grade.
Okay.
Same thing for first birds. Like you should probably move that up into like the Cretaceous if what you mean is crown avians, which like you don't need to talk about the fact that that's what you mean, but if that's what you're trying to get at, then move it. And if you are actually talking about stem birds, or avialans or something like that, like some wider group, then you're actually going to have to start talking about what it is that you mean. You can't just say first birds and say that, oh, that's fine, because now you're lying to people.
Okay. Yeah, and it does look like he made this image because if you look at his citation there.
Yeah, philopic.org. Yeah.
He got the silhouettes from Philopic, but then made the time scale in a thing. Right? Like
yeah.
So I think he's saying that he made this timescale. So
also, I like that he doesn't bother with things like, you know, first bivalves or cephalopods or anything. Despite also having a gastropod that he put in the Cambrian, which is inaccurate. Gastropods did not exist in the Cambrian. They didn't come about until like the mid to late Ordovician. So, no.
Okay, so are we starting to get like concerned about his? So he says he teaches, right? Because he referred to students earlier.
Right, but he teaches at a Young Earth Creationist University.
Ah.
Teaching paleontology at a Young Earth Creationist university is like teaching like cartography at like a flat Earth school, right? Like you can't be good at it and also teach there.
Yeah, well, that was the. What's upsetting is I think that school. I wonder if they're doing something funny with accreditation.
Well, there are some accrediting organizations that accredit like silly nonsense schools that have like religious agendas that I would say take them out of the realm of what should be accredited.
Yeah, so but I'm wondering if there's like a point, because I think you can actually have like a program accredited, right?
Oh, like maybe their like history program is accredited, but like their science program isn't.
Right.
That could be. Look, I've openly advocated before that I think that young Earth creationist schools should not be able to be accredited to give accredited science degree. But if they want to give like accredited like music degree or business degrees or things like that, that's fine.
Yeah. That's right. Like there's no reason. For example, one of the reasons I'm upset at the other Matt that we listened to, Matt Powell, is because he's a college graduate and has no communication skills whatsoever. Right?
Yeah.
And so like, dude, like you could have gotten some trash science education, but at least be able to present an argument coherently.
Also,
like at least be able to preach a sermon. Come on.
Savage Cobra says, this chart is wrong. Everyone knows mammals didn't show up until the Eocene, which was an actual claim made by Stephen Meyer of the Discovery Institute. And it's amazingly wrong.
Okay.
It's like... It's sort of like if I were to do like a meteorology example. It would be sort of like saying, well, the first known tornado occurred in 1996.
Beautiful.
Like, no, that's not even remotely true.
Right, my God. The first tornado forecast and warning went out in the but yeah, just like, so sometimes when we talk, I get, because since I do Arctic meteorology, my world in science doesn't start until 1970. I have no data that predates 1979.
Paleontology is going back like 800 million years.
Right. And I'm like, nope, I have nothing before 19. So like, when you say like Eocene, I have
so okay, look up at the top here. You see where the Cenozoic is?
Yeah, sorry, it's really blurry for.
So up here, on the next column over, it says Paleogene and Neogene.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's actually supposed to be an Eocene in there, way at the top. Whereas remember, I said that actually the first crown mammals come about in the Jurassic, way down in the Mesozoic.
Okay, beautiful.
That's the level of error we're talking about.
That's the level of error. Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha.
Here we go.
Idea comes from the fossil record. When you look at the fossil record, what you see is at the base of the fossil record, you find invertebrate organisms, animals without backbones, animals that seem more simple to us. And
no, not that seem more simple. Look, there's a human bias to think that things that are less like humans are more simple, but it's just not true. Right? Like, go look at like the neurology of like a cephalopod. It's insanely complex. If anything, it's more complex than you are. I'm not saying that they're smarter than you are, but like, that's crazy to think that invertebrates are just less complex than invertebrates. It's just not true. We're taking a drink. Also, I finished the poll, and we're going to be done with this video for now. And the poll says, does the fossil record support evolution? Yes, with 80%. Only for turtles, 16%. No, 2%, with 107 votes. So, thank you very much, everybody. But yeah, we're gonna call it here. We will be back, Matt McLean, hopefully in 1 month.
Yeah.
And Maddie, you have anything that you want to plug before we get out of here?
Boy, howdy. I'll just say, if you guys, so I've been leaning a little more into doing tabletop role-playing game content instead of science content, because I'm trying to write my dissertation and I need a break from science.
No, that's fair.
I'll be doing some stuff on Amateurish Productions Twitch channel. So if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see those announcements. It might be a lot of stuff in the background for now because we're doing I'm going to GM a pretty big campaign. But we're going to pre-record it and do some fun editing, stuff, and then upload it later. So I'm doing that, but you might be able to see me do a Call of Cthulhu early February.
That would be really cool.
Tabletop stuff, and all Power Rangers, that Dapper GMs still exists, and I think we're back a week from tomorrow.
Yes, that is the plan.
As long as everyone doesn't get sick again.
Right, for our long-delayed Christmas episode.
Yes. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of the Christmas theme until we actually play through it. I don't care if it's June.
Love it.
Gonna have a Christmas episode. Just because it's actually traditional for Power Ranger seasons to have a Christmas episode, and the Christmas episode almost always involves actual Santa showing.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're familiar enough with Power Rangers, that's not a spoiler that Santa may show up for the Christmas episode. So let's see. Over on my end, I need to double check to make sure. Oh no, I have the first episode of Unwise Flood Fossils with Kurt Wise. That's going to be Thursday. Saturday, I'm probably going to have a Dapper Reacts. I might not, though. It'll depend on how basically the rest of the week goes. It might end up being a mirror of the chat I had with Jackson Wheat with a creationist who goes by Monk something. I don't know. I don't remember it, honestly. It was a fun chat, although when he called himself a skeptic, I did go a little off on him. Because I informed him that, in fact, he's not a skeptic. He's a denier, and that there's a big difference, and then I explained the difference, and explained why he's not a skeptic, and instead is a denier. And I pointed out
How did that go?
I mean, it stayed primarily cordial. Left
that's good.
on non-yelly terms.
Good. Nobody rage quit.
Yeah, we also spent a fair bit of time having him say that he can tell the difference between kinds based on morphological distance, and generally corresponds to the family level. And then him saying that Procyonidae, which is the raccoons and their relatives, and Ursidae, which is the bears, were not the same kind. And then me asking specifically what anatomical details preclude Procyonidae and Ursidae from sharing a common ancestor.
Yeah.
He wasn't prepared for that kind of question. Let's just say that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, seemed like a nice enough person, though.
People have lovely theories until they talk to experts.
And I'm not even an expert.
Yeah.
I'm just an expert compared to the average young Earth creationist. Which is like saying, I'm not an expert compared to the average flat earther, which is well, you don't have to be much of one to be an expert compared to that guy.
Yeah.
So, okay, that is what's basically coming up this week. Next Tuesday, Jackson with Jackson is the plan. Then on the 31st, Bent with Bent, 102, I believe. So, all right, everybody. We'll take one last drink from Mothra.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. So I'm going to be, in the next little bit, heading over to my Discord server for patrons and members. We're going to watch some Power Rangers. But in the meantime, enjoy the end credits.
Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above.
Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Bent Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Denny5252, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, San, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Veed, Eleron Teller, and Pat L. Dennis. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. But the people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters,
as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if the annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.